confidence and authority, Greg.
No, it's not confidence. It's lacking any idea where we're going with this. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Bourbon Note. I'm Greg. He's Ben. And today, it's Whatever Wednesday. All right, Ben, what is on the bar today?
A bunch of Islay Scotch.
Islay Scotch. Now,
you can tell just by smelling from here, you can tell what's on the bar.
Let's do a bit of explaining.
All right.
We're going to make some claims about Scotch that may not be true because we don't claim to be experts. However, I have owned these bottles. They're almost all gone, all of them, for a while. And I actually really like some Scotches, and I do like Islay Scotch. For those who are complete, this is a bourbon channel.
Right.
So Scotch is obviously from Scotland, but it varies quite a bit in different regions of Scotland.
But none more than Islay Scotch.
Yeah,
it's almost its own complete different animal from my experience.
I totally agree.
I think most people that are into Scotch would maybe agree with that.
Yep.
And that's what's endearing about it to a lot of people.
Yep. So, and then even maybe amongst Islay Scotches that are extreme and off on their own, then there's this one distillery that kicks it up a notch, and that's Laphroaig.
Is it Laphroaig or Laphroaig? I'm sure we'll get murdered in the comments about this and how we pronounce this particular offering of it.
Yep.
So anyway, so an Islay Scotch, if you don't know what that is, it's from the island of Islay, I-S-L-A.
Yep.
Had to think about that for a second. And it's peated Scotch.
Yes.
And so they take peat moss and they burn it to dry the grains.
Yep.
And so it leaves with it what the quintessential Islay Scotch note is the smoke.
It smells like smoke.
Smells and tastes like smoke.
Right now, because we just opened these up and it smells like campfire in here, to be honest.
But those are not the only flavor notes that come along with it. So we're going to explore these three. We have the 10-year, the 18-year, and the
Caderas.
Cairdeas. I have no idea how to say that, especially because the Scots tend to pronounce things in their own special way. It's almost like its own language with certain words.
Yeah.
Same with Irish. They kind of have their own terminology for things.
Sure.
And so this one is the Portwood edition.
So what I've heard, and it's been a while since I read into it, but this is a blend of a few different Laphroaig whiskeys that have been aged in Portwood, and some of it was 30-year, but this is not all a 30-year whiskey. But I can tell you, we're actually going to start with the 10-year. The 10-year is the most aggressive, or the most campfire smoke forward. The 18 is really nice, and then the port cask is really nice and kind of it still has the traditional Laphroaig notes, but
okay. So. I'm not noticing a ton on the nose right off the bat. Now, I've had Laphroaig 10 a handful of times.
Yep.
I have had the 18-year and the Cairdeas, or however you say it, one time, and that was a night that...
Well, you don't, yeah. Well, when you have a ton to drink,
We've referenced this before. We did a bourbon tasting one night where we sampled 15 bourbons.
Yeah.
Or honestly, probably more than that.
Probably
very small pours, but they do add up.
They do
we
add up.
ended the night with doing a flight of this with a few of the neighbors.
Yeah.
And no idea at all what these taste like. Yeah. This is probably
a couple years
3 years ago now.
Yep.
And it was the end of the night of drinking a bunch of whiskey and sitting by the campfire. And so I really don't have any sort of bearings on what these two taste like. I am familiar with the 10 though.
But I will tell you, there are a couple of very traditional words to describe what Laphroaig tastes like, and I promise we're about to get into it.
Yeah.
And they're not they're definitely not bourbon type descriptions.
They're not even traditional Scotch notes.
They're not even traditional liquids or food type notes.
So the three main things that people use to describe a heavy Islay Scotch are usually medicinal or an antiseptic sort of flavor.
Which sounds yummy.
Campfire smoke, and believe it or not, Band-Aids. And if you've ever had it or smelt it, you know exactly what people are talking about. Not that people are eating Band-Aids, but you know what the Band-Aid tin smells like?
Yeah.
So let's get into the nose here.
Let's see if we can get beyond those notes and see if
I was just going to say, I
else.
am getting notes of antiseptic, Band-Aids, and campfire smoke.
I also got one more thing, and I don't know what it is. A jar. You just opened a glass jar of olives.
Really? I don't know if I've ever opened a jar of olives.
Yep. The olives with the little red pimento, is that what it's called? I don't eat olives.
I have no idea.
Lot. Yeah, I don't eat olives very much.
I don't either.
I think olive with pimento.
So this one, very medicinal. This may be controversial to say. The smoke is really not the dominant note for me. And that may just be my particular palate or my particular nose. But for me, the medicinal part is much more dominant.
Because I really do like smoked foods, smoked flavors. Yeah. So that's not off-putting to me at all. But the medicinal antiseptic note is a bit.
And I get that it's there, but like everybody you ask them, what does an Islay Scotch smell like or taste like? Well, smoke. It's got to have smoke. Yep. It has to have that. And on the ones that I've had, it's like, again, it could just be how I perceive things or whatever, but the medicinal part really dominates. So let's get into the taste here without further ado.
Can't even get to it without smelling the olives now. I'm serious.
Cheers.
You know what I think this is more than anything? It tastes like it smells. Where we actually don't have that a lot on bourbons.
Do you know what else tastes like it smells as a side note? And I mean this wholeheartedly, this is a legitimate thing. Antelope.
I did not know that.
Not just like an antelope in the wild, I mean like the meat when you cook it. That's a thing. If my parents watch this video, they'll be laughing right now. Oh. Anyway, continue.
Anyway.
It really does. Antelope, if you cook it, it tastes exactly like it smells. It's a little gamey and weird, but go ahead.
Well, I don't know. I'm getting, honestly, olive juice from an olive. Like, I don't remember having this whole olive experience before.
It really does. I mean, the notes you get on the nose are exactly what you get on the palate.
Yeah.
It's like what you smell is what you get.
But I have to say, this time around...
We're just going to move past that.
Yeah, just let it go. There's not a lot redeeming or worthwhile for me in this. And maybe the bottle has finally gone...
86 proof, okay.
Oh yeah, they build in proof.
In proof as well, okay. Interesting.
I think it's gone cantaloupe. Either
really?
That, yeah,
For those of you who don't know what that means, well, neither do we. Greg said it in one of our videos, and I guess it just means it's gone bad.
It's gone, yeah. Not a big fan of the cantaloupe. But I remembered in the past liking these, and today, like...
I don't mind this, but it's a... If I go to somebody's house and they have this and they pour me one, I don't have a problem getting through the glass of it if it's a mid-sized glass, but like this is not an everyday drinker for me by any means.
Totally agree, yep.
Interestingly enough, now that I've had a taste of it, I feel like it's changed the nose on the 18 year, and I'm getting more of those traditional Scotch notes, a little bit of that apple and pear that we tend to get.
I would agree.
But I'm also getting some like a grain note that you would get from like a youthful, and I know on an 18-year-old whiskey, this sounds insane to say, but
well, it's a single
some
malt.
of the stuff like what you get from a younger bourbon, when you get that like grassy note a little bit, and that could be just the peat manifesting itself in a little bit of a different way.
I'm almost getting like a really bright sugar off of this, which is really...
It's definitely a bright smell for sure. There's nothing dark about any of these so far, at least on the nose. For these two, I haven't tasted this one yet, but let's go in for it. Cheers.
So I get a lot of traditional malted barley, kind of the pear and apple, but it is definitely more aged. It is a bit bitter, which is interesting. And then there's obviously the campfire type smoke that comes across. But this is actually a really interesting, like I like this a lot.
I do like this better than the 10, I think. I think you might be onto something when you said that the 10 was a little more aggressive.
Yeah.
This comes across as like, if you were to take the 10 year and cut it with a Highland or a Speyside single malt.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's got more of those traditional Scotch notes to it.
where this is just a little bit too peaty, and I don't know. I'm a little bit worried that that bottle is, I don't remember it being so weird.
It's fine. It tastes like Laphroaig to me every time I've had it.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to have one more little sip of this. It's definitely still, it's unmistakably an Islay Scotch.
Absolutely.
But there's not really, I don't know. Yeah, like I think I agree with you. Just it's a little more rounded out, it feels.
But so here's, for those still watching, thank you so much for sticking with us as we're getting through this. We've done a couple of single malts recently. And we do get traditional malted barley kind of pear, apple kind of notes, and they almost, because we're not Scotch experts, we don't get a lot beyond that, and so they're almost boring.
A little bit of vanilla,
well, yeah,
a little bit of like a.
But this one at least brings some interest. So I get those flavors, but then the subtle campfire smoke helps it, you know. And this one, where it's going to be, you know.
I'm excited to get into this one for sure.
So
let's get into this. So what is the 18? 48 proof. Do the math on that. 96. So this one is 51.3, so 102.6.
Something like that.
God, I am killing it.
That's right.
So, all right, and this is finished in different stuff. This is, what was it? I said Portwood?
Port.
Yeah, Portwood edition. So that could be like the 10-year-old edition. I think they do a different one of these every year.
Could be.
We might be a little bit behind the 8 ball on this one.
We are definitely behind. But, all right, here it goes.
You know, when I initially smelt all these,
getting vanilla at the moment.
I didn't notice a whole lot of difference. This one is definitely leaving some of those, this has a sweetness to it that reminds me of bourbon a little bit.
Yes.
Obviously not the same flavor notes.
Yep.
But this has way more sweetness than these two.
Totally agree. And I think that, you know, I'm not picking up the smoke type note anymore because it's just, you know, overwhelmed.
That's another thing. I mean, when you get 3 deep in something like this, for people like us that are not super well versed in this, I'm losing it a little bit too, but the medicinal note is hanging around for sure. Or maybe it's just a little more rounded out. Ooh.
The proof is noticeable.
It is. I think the proof is really nice.
It does have some Laphroaig like base.
I was just gonna say, I think the proof brings out the Laphroaig 10 in this.
Yeah.
Like, it lets you know, reminds you exactly which distillery you're messing with here.
Yeah, like I have not actually had any of this in a couple years, and I had forgotten, but yeah, this one still drinks like it's Laphroaig. Like there's you're not gonna surprise anyone with it.
I feel like for me, that medicinal note being so dominant, it makes it difficult to pick out
anything else,
all the other stuff.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this. So the Laphroaig 10 is 86 proof.
Yes. They
have a cask strength version of this, and I'm actually dying to try that.
Wow.
Because I want to know what this tastes like at full, you know.
You know what they also have, and I don't think you and I together could afford it. They have a 30 and a 40 year.
Yeah, I don't think we probably could.
But
we do have a Patreon that you can subscribe to if you want to help us buy a 30 to 40-year-old Laphroaig.
Yeah, I actually think I'm going to replace this bottle. I'm not going to replace this one, and I'm not going to replace this one, but it's kind of cool to have it.
I might pick up the cask strength just for a whatever Wednesday, just for you guys.
That'd be awesome.
So I'm going to go backwards down this before we get into the real deal, which is the Benny Walker special. We're going to blend all of them together. So I just had another sip of the Carderas, or however you say it. Yeah, again, coming back, even on the nose, it still has just a little more traditional Scotchy vibes. On the palate, it does too.
Yep.
I feel like there's These two are a little more in cahoots with one another. The 10-year and the Carderas, and the 18-year is a little bit on its own.
And maybe this is mostly 10-year Laphroaig that's been, put in, a port cask. And then there is a little bit of blending of something else. So maybe
when they're telling you there's a little bit of 30-year, you probably cut the rest of it with a 10-year.
Yeah,
versus
absolutely.
an 18.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, the 10-year is aggressively medicinal, which is interesting because it's the lowest proof out of all of them.
But it's those other flavors that they really show up and
yeah, for sure.
dominate.
All right, let's do the 50-50-50 blend.
Yeah. Squeaking in at probably 285, 290 proof.
I'm going to take your word for it. Price on these, do you remember?
Boy, it's been 10 years. I think
I love that these bottles are that old.
I don't know if it has a date on them.
So we're almost drinking like vintage.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't read the laser dot. It's definitely been a number of years. I went to a Laphroaig tasting years ago and picked these up. And
so these could be completely off profile if you're one of the people that subscribes to this being at a lower level in the bottle. And I know that there's some evidence to support that, but that has not been our experience with some of the bottles we've tested that on.
Yeah.
But who knows? We haven't done it with Scotch. The blend is interesting.
Getting weird graham cracker note.
I was just going to say the exact same thing. No kidding. There's almost like a toasted barrel note. And what I associate with a toasted barrel, if you watch our other videos, graham cracker.
Yeah.
I feel like it's tamed a little bit.
Yeah. I will tell you, when I went to this whiskey tasting, it was whiskey and cheese pairing.
Okay.
And so each one of these, and there were a couple of other scotches from another distillery. I think there was still Islay at another distillery, but each one was paired with a different cheese.
Do you think we should pair the blend with a cheese?
Well, no.
You got like a Velveeta slice, like the individual slices?
No, they were interesting cheeses. Let's just put it that way.
Let's go in for the palate on the blend here. All Cheers. Right.
Me.
Kind of just tastes like Laphroaig 10.
It tastes like Laphroaig
The nose
10.
was a little more interesting.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to be very different. The blend of all three of these just tastes like this one. So if you want to do the blend of all three, save yourself the money on these two and just buy the 10-year.
Or, yeah. I think I'm going to put this on the buy list. I really like it. It is different and unique. To be honest, over the last, let's say 10 years that I've owned these bottles, the number one purpose of this bottle has not been to drink it. It's to give it to someone and say, you've got to try this.
I was just going to say, I want to buy the cask strength of this just to say, hey, here's an aggressive whiskey.
Yeah.
Because it is, like, Islay Scotches are aggressive. You know, like, they're highly revered.
Yes.
Among Scotch enthusiasts. And there is something about them that I like to have one once in a while. And I'm very interested in trying other ones. I just haven't gotten to the point where it's like, I'm ready to spend the amount of money on a bottle. Now, Laphroaig 10 is not that bad.
Right.
But some of the more aggressive ones are a little expensive. So I kind of have a hard time justifying buying a bottle of it. But I'm definitely interested in at least having one on the shelf because, you know, we're into bourbon, but at the end of the day, we're just whiskey enthusiasts.
Yeah, totally.
And we appreciate the process and all that. And it's good to have one of these on the shelf.
Yeah, I totally agree.
You know, if nothing else, just to mess with people.
Mess with people. And 1 in 100 people are going to actually...
Yeah, maybe you have a guest over who really loves Islay Scotch, and then you've got something to pour for them. And that's, you know, an important part about having a whiskey collection, too, is you have a friend over or somebody over that, you know, has a particular thing they like, and you can provide that.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. So, well, this has been a flight of Laphroaig. Very interesting departure from our standard.
Well, it's Whatever Wednesday. That's what we do here, you know.
Yeah. And remember the, what is it? The proof is in the sadness?
No.
Is that what we came up with on our last video?
No. While they were harsh, it was in the harshness that we found the love.
The love is found in the harshness. Cheers.